G'day everyone. G'day Johnny.
How are you, mate?
G'day Russell Broadbent.
G'day, boys.
We should give you a Club Grubbery t-shirt. You're becoming part of the furniture. So
Uh,
good to have you on, Russell. And it has been said that a week's a long time in politics. How's your week been?
Oh, it's an eternity this week. Well, we're now in the election campaign and we've got four pre-poll booths. Thousands and thousands of people are voting. I don't know what that means, whether they want to just get it out of the way or they've made up their minds what they're going to do well and truly before the event on election day. So there's going to be more than half the population, probably 60% of the population, that have voted before election day. So it's very hard to get a handle on what's going on.
hmm.
Russell, it seems that things are so fluid. I'm going to leave my vote casting until the very last minute.
I don't vote for election day.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Yep.
Johnny, I trod on you there.
No, mate, no, that's all good. No, I think that's sensible. It's a lot of things can happen in a fortnight, and look, I think the Electoral Commission have sort of let things get out of control with this early voting. I think it's completely nuts myself. Um, these people that are turning up, they haven't. The majority of them don't have a legitimate excuse for voting early. I mean, it's just convenience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, governments try to give them every opportunity to vote for them. And if they can make it convenient for them, they do. End of story.
Exactly.
Mm.
Now, it would appear, from what we're being told, that the trumpet of patriots was infiltrated, and some crazy things have gone on behind the scenes, Russell.
Well, we were in shock down here when they decided that they would preference the teal. The teal who's spending $1 million just in Monash. Nearly $500,000 from Simon Holmes of Court's Climate 200. Yet here they are. Here's Clive going to preference them. Turns out they said they've been infiltrated. They got all the wrong information, and now they've turned around and said, "No, right, Russell, we're going to preference you." And they're reprinting their how to vote cards, but we've got to see that yet.
Look, the Teals are both of you, John and Russell, because you're much more politically astute than I am. One of our loyal supporters on the Gold Coast sent me a message just before we came to air, telling me the massive campaign that the Teals are mounting on the Gold Coast and the money that they're spending. And apparently, their so-called volunteers aren't volunteers at all. They're getting paid $30 an hour to represent the candidate and attend the polls and do all the other stuff. I don't know whether that's legal or not. I have no idea. But where does all this teal money come from?
Well, that's a question that I can't answer. Is it overseas money? We don't know. Is it money raised here in Australia? We don't know. But being delivered to, you're talking millions of dollars, and trying to change the outcome, and they have changed the makeup of the Australian Parliament so far. And I don't know whether the Australian people, I believe my electorate's smart enough to know that these people are left-leaning, light green.
Mm.
John, you had some documentation about the level of funding that's gone into the candidate in Monash.
Mm. Well, just alone, I think to date, I think it was $476,000 and change from the Climate 200 crowd, which is Simon Holmes Court. But I mean, I suppose that's the norm with these teals. They back themselves. But I think the disturbing thing for me in this case is when you come back to the integrity and the honesty of the candidates, and here this lady is saying, "Well, I'm not a teal." That's something the media has sort of portrayed, and it's not me. Uh, well, hang on a sec. You're running around. You've got teal banners. You're happy to really run on the on the back of this whole teal momentum, and you're getting climate 200 money. Now, that to me is a teal.
Yeah. Yep. End of story. And you're beholden to the person who gave you the money
That's right.
if you win.
If it waddles like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a goose.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
You know. So how's the reception been for you at the pre-polling booths you've been at, Russell? Are you getting a warm response?
I've always got a warm response from a lot of people, but it's difficult this time because I'm actually running against the party that I stood for so long, and I can understand people having a problem with that. That's just the way politics pans out sometimes, and I have to make a stand. I make a stand for freedom. I make a stand for bodily autonomy. I make a stand for the opportunity to make decisions about your children by yourself. The parents make the decision about their children without government interference. Yeah, I think the truth's important, and because if you tell the truth's going to set us all free. And I think we've been deceived over this past 4 years. There's been a lot of deception. So I'm standing on solid ground, I believe.
Well, you certainly are, and you're surrounded, as we've said before, John, by some great people, and you've got integrity, and that's acknowledged by people on both sides of the house. You're spoken of very warmly. Your former political leader in Peter Dutton appears to be about to lose the unlosable election, which is something the Liberals have become pretty good at doing. The reason being, the way I see it, is as I'm not one way or the other when it comes to the two major parties. I used to always vote one or the other in the past, but it was always based on policies at the time. But the way I see it, people are having trouble differentiating between Labor and Liberal, thus they've become the uni party. And that's even more disconcerting when we take into account the amazing research that was handed to us on a platter the other day when we interviewed Trevor Loudon, who wrote the book Comrade Prime Minister about Anthony Albanese, in that there is a clear infiltration in Australia of the Communist Party. It's manifested in Labor. But why, I just don't understand why your former parliamentary leader doesn't have the testicles to stand up and actually oppose and actually come out with something that's radically different from Labor. Why is this happening?
Well, because of these teal seats, he's caught on a barbed wire fence. I think if he goes against the teals, he'll be against climate change. He'll be a climate change denier, and so he can't say anything on the net 50, which everybody knows net 50 is not a goer. Net zero emissions by the 2050. It's not a go. It's not going to happen. It'll cost the nation a fortune if it goes ahead. And it's destroying our manufacturing base and putting electricity prices through the roof, the reckless renewables that they're putting in place. So he's gone with his nuclear option. That's not very popular, gentlemen. That's not very popular at all. And I've said no nuclear without community support. But the reason we never needed nuclear in this country because we've got an abundance of coal and gas, which Australia's locked up using. We're closing our coal-fired power stations down. We should be rebuilding them and refitting them and keeping them up to date. And in Victoria, there's a moratorium on searching for gas. It's crazy stuff. And it's just damaging our country no end.
But it seems that the majority of people I speak to in the street, and I talk a lot to various people I run into, I would have to say 70% of the people I talk to are against the reckless renewables. They don't think they're going to work. They don't believe in them. So there must be a lot of money put into lobbying to keep that argument alive and to keep it flourishing the way it has.
Well, I think it's being treated like a religion in this country. I mean, football's bad enough, but the whole issues, I don't mind renewable energy as long as it's not subsidised. Now, if it wasn't subsidised, there wouldn't be one wind turbine in Australia, not one, without the subsidies. And these are often built by overseas companies who come in, take the subsidies, build these things. As soon as they're set up, they just take the money and sell it off.
Johnny?
I think that's right, Russell. I mean, look, nobody out there is kicking up a stink about putting a few solar panels on their roof or putting a water tank in to collect a bit of rainwater. I mean, those ideas are very practical and you know they're not incumbent on governments putting in lots of money as they are with these wind turbines. And what we're seeing is the legacy of these things. I mean, they're not just a drain on the economy. I mean, they're going to be a drain on the environment. There doesn't seem to be any contracts that I've seen that allow for essentially renewing the landscape when they're finished or how they
No,
remove.
that's right.
I mean, they're a blight on society, really. Um, and look, I think Dutton really just doesn't get enough free oxygen. He hasn't really taken the leap away from the moderates in his own party. I mean, you still, when you think about Matt Keane, I mean, here's a bloke that was a minister in the Liberal state government in New South Wales that was taken on by the Labor Party to run the renewables. I mean, that tells you where the Liberals are generally in Australia at the moment. They're woke, they're left, and Dutton's captured. And I think we saw that with the pre-selection or the candidate issue in that seat in Western Sydney, where he made some comments on Joel Jamal's program about women serving on the front line, and they yanked him.
Yeah.
He's always looking over his shoulder. You know, who's next? You know, is it Angus Taylor that wants to be the next PM? Is it Susan Ley? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, they're probably hoping that Dutton fails so that they can have a chance in 3 years' time.
I've faced that sort of thing myself. I realised the last election, the Liberals really, really, really wanted me to lose.
Mm.
When I see the support they're getting in my electorate now compared to what they gave me, it was very clear what their intention was last time. But I beat them with no money from them, no help from them, nothing. You know, there's a donation in the end from Josh Frydenberg, but he had plenty of money to spend. We didn't spend it anyway. But there you go. That's politics. It's a very, very difficult game. And I applaud anybody who has put their hand up in this election campaign to be a candidate.
Definitely.
Good on them.
Let's hope they all hold it together, because as usual in the lead up to the election in the last couple of weeks, everything tends to fragment. And that's been history. We're now seeing fragmentation in the Great Australia Party with Dr. William Bay and Rod Cullerton. They've come to blows, it seems, in the public arena, in the public space. And you know, once again, it just seems like people don't know how to read the room.
Mm.
You've got to be able to read the room. You can't just sit in a cloistered bubble and think that you're the champion of everything you purvey when what you purvey is limited to a small echo chamber. You've got to be able to read the broader objective.
Yeah, Russell, do you think any of this lower house voting needs reform? I mean, I've been speaking to people today that were very upset about the fact that they had to number every box because they didn't want to vote for Greens, they didn't want to vote for Labor. Do you think we need to adopt a system where you know we have a minimum number of votes in there, or if they just want to vote for Russell Broadbent, they just put one, that's it, and job's done. Because I think people are voting informally because they're mucking it up. They put two number sixes down or whatever, and that goes. You know, it's a very complicated process, isn't it, for some people when you don't know it?
Well, yes, it is. But I remind everybody, as long as your voting intention is clear. So there's 9 candidates in my electorate. If you numbered 1 to 8 and didn't do 9, you still count because your intention is clear. Your intention is clear. I think it's not a bad system, because if you don't get your first vote up, all the other preferences count going down to the end. So in this election especially, preferences are going to be absolutely crucial as to what you do. So, and also, you don't have to follow the card. You know, you can go one Russell Broadbent, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, anywhere you like. That's up to you. You know, and some people will put Russell number 1, Liberals number 2. Others will put Russell number 1 and Labor number 2. We'll see how it goes from there. I've got to tell you, though, if it was first past the post, I'd have won every election campaign that I've been in since 1984. But it's not. So I've got to accept the system as it is, and your opposition's going to get a say.
It's pretty clear, Russell, even in some mainstream media outlets are reporting stories of disenchantment in the Australian population with the two major parties. And they're expecting, some have forecast, that there'll be a fairly heavy lean towards those independents and the other freedom parties that are running in protest. I think we can safely say we can see that happening. Can you see that happening?
We've been watching it happen over 3 election campaigns because the Liberals, with all due respect to their efforts, and I've got nothing to say really in regard to Peter Dutton, but I would say this, that over the last 3 election campaigns, they've lost 18 of their best seats. 18 seats that they expect to come back to them at every election campaign, and they haven't. And people have decided to park their vote with the Greens or with independents or with Teals, anywhere but the major parties.
Yeah, well, let's hope that trend continues because something needs to change.
Well, I think they've been very clever, the Teals, haven't they? Because a lot of them don't announce themselves as Teals, but they obviously rely on the notoriety and the funding and as the representative who ends up being a Teal in Monash, Russell. I mean, she comes across as a family lawyer, and you'd be thinking, oh, wonderful,
Yeah,
until they get in.
yeah, yeah, and they set themselves up as community representatives. Well, that's fine if you want to run for local government, even the state government. But, I have a number of roles. One is a community representative. One is a glorified welfare worker. One was a responsibility to my party. One was a responsibility to my party room. But there's a caveat over all of that. Number one, I offer you my judgment on issues. And I may not always accord with what the majority of my electorate think. But it might be the best, in my view, the best for the nation. So I offer you my judgment. And also, I have a national responsibility as a federal member of parliament. It's not just fixing the holes in the roads and building the new bridges and the new sporting facilities. That's a part of it too, but that's not all there is. And having the knowledge and the experience to guide government to do the right thing on infrastructure, not just a political thing on infrastructure. And they talked about a highway going down to Western Victoria, and in the marginal seat you had a 3-lane dual passage highway all the way down. When it hit Wadden, it goes back to 2 lanes, right on the boundary. So one seat's obviously been pork barreled with roads, and the other guys, gets nothing.
And same with hospitals, Russell.
Yep. The Labor government down here have decided they're going to build a hospital in Pakenham, which is really a triage centre. It's not a hospital, but they're calling it a hospital, so everybody will think that's wonderful. There's another hospital, full-blown hospital, probably 15 minutes away max. And yourself that people get triaged on the spot with the paramedics. Then they get triaged again when they get to the hospital, and they're sent often to a specialist hospital for the ailment that the person's affected by. But they've been promising Warragul a new hospital because it's in a safe seat. It might get mentioned. It's finally been mentioned in the Victorian budget, but they haven't allowed any allocation of money to get the planning and the development going. So I promised them if I get in, I'll get them $60 million just for the planning side of it and the beginning of the infrastructure side of it, because they're very expensive hospitals, very, very expensive. They give one to Pakenham in the marginal seat. What they give to Warragul? Nothing. Not good enough.
No.
And I think people can't see through that. People
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah.
We're done and dusted with that.
Yeah.
Russell, do you think that that Australia needs a Department of Government Expenditure where we can look at where all the money's going, like they're doing in America with Elon Musk?
Well, I think we need to be. Can I just say to you, in Australia, politicians are addicted to spending, and it's your money they're spending. They're addicted to it. So you get your bracket creep as people go into higher wage incomes, and the bracket creep comes through, and all that money starts to roar into the government coffers, and they just take that and spend it instead of indexing those tax brackets, which they could do. Instead of doing that, and then they'd have to be disciplined about what they spend. There's no discipline about what they spend. They don't care. I mean, both sides are promising billions and billions and billions of dollars. It's just madness. If it was appropriate spending, I'd say fine. But, bulk billing rates have gone down whilst the government outlays have gone up. The system's broken. And governments just think that they can use your money to buy their way through the next election campaign. And it's not just this government's done it. Every government I've seen has done it all the way through.
I think in health too, people are fed up with seeing all the money allocated to hospitals where 50% of the budget is in a 6-story hospital, might go to provide 3 floors, which is for the administration and bureaucrats running the hospital.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing it transferred into hospital beds and good healthcare professionals who many of whom are still out of work, Russell.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Because they took a stand.
They took a stand. So there was a time when all you ever heard about in an election campaign was reducing the deficit, getting the budget back into the black. All that just seems to have gone out the window. Nobody seems to care about the budget deficit anymore. Are we doomed to have a budget deficit for the rest of our lives?
No, we're not. If you get a government in there that's prepared to do the job and be thrown out.
Exactly.
In other words, a prime minister who's prepared to lose his or her job to do the right thing by this nation.
Exactly. Johnny.
I don't think we've spoken to you, Russell, since the revelation in the media about Dan Andrews and the documents about the lack of health advice on him locking down the state. What were your thoughts on that?
I don't get angry about many things, but I was angry about that because they'd done the polling to find out that people were frightened and they could take advantage of that. They locked them down, they frightened them some more, and they'd be seen as the heroes. And that's what they did. Yet those health professionals were saying straight out, it was not on our advice. They did an enormous amount of damage. And I just saw a headline out there, why children need mental health care. Come on. I never heard of that in my life when I was growing up. Never.
Yeah.
So the consequences of the curfew and what they did are rather horrific. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you go as far as to say criminal?
That's for a judge to work in. I never accuse anybody of anything that I don't really know the full. Imagine if we knew what really happened. That's only one email that's come out.
Does that worry you, Russell, that I think everyone is really upset about that? That's one thing that makes me angry, that the police jurisdictions around Australia have been very reticent to get involved in investigating any of these matters for criminal outcomes.
The politicians in Victoria used the police as an arm of politics, not backing the law and human rights. And even the Human Rights Commission has now come out and said, oh, we did the wrong thing. Well, I wrote to them 3 times telling them they were doing the wrong thing, and I got these bland, terrible answers back. It was a disgrace. You know, this is a health issue, they were saying then. This is a health issue. No, it's not. It's a human rights issue. Yeah. No, don't get me going on that one.
Yeah, okay. So what are the top 3 things in your electorate that your constituents are really concerned about?
In a rural electorate like mine, it's always roads and access. It's always health and access to health because I have an older population. It's always education because it's great for their kids. But, you know, if you ask them what are the issues, they don't come up with climate change. They come up with roads.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we spoke to Joel Jamal yesterday talking broadly about how to vote, and he's done a lot of research. And pretty much what he said about Monash was this. The people of Monash have got a pretty easy choice to make, really, because the representative they've had for 25 years in the parliament has served them well as a Liberal, but stuck to his guns and stuck to his principles and stuck to his moral compass heading to the extent that he lost his Liberal job. He lost the umbrella of the Liberal Party over the top of him because he valued the integrity of what the people really needed and what they were telling him that they needed over party politics. So it really is, for my money, it's a lay down misere. You know where all the skeletons are buried. You know all the people in the corridors of power. You've proven your integrity because you put it all on the line. And you're the only candidate in Monash who's got any experience. It would appear to me to be crazy not to re-elect you.
Well, that's up to the people. When I was asked a question the other day about why I'm standing, I said, well, the people put me in here. I've been fighting the Liberal Party for, I don't know how long, forever, feels like, or elements within the party. And they don't want people like me in their party. That's fine. If they say I'm too old, that's fine too. They made that decision. However, I like to think that when someone turns 70 years of age, they're just starting. They're just starting. They're just starting with new opportunities, etc., whatever they're doing. And, you know, right across the board in Australia, we're inviting older people to come back and do the job because we haven't got enough employees.
So what you're saying is you think eldership is important?
Absolutely, I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the things that I can achieve on behalf of them. I said I'd deliver for Fish Creek Footy Club, right? $1.5 million because their shed was burnt down by an arsonist. And they've raised a lot of money themselves. They need $1.5 million to get that. I said, righto, we've got to get both the Liberal Party and the Labor Party to commit to it. And eventually the Labor Party candidate wasn't supportive. And we had to go straight to Catherine King and say, you know, we need this money. On the Saturday night, or Friday night that week, after Catherine got the letter, they got their money. So it doesn't matter who wins, Fish Creek Footy Club's going to get built. That's what you do with experience.
That's exactly right, Johnny.
Well, and I think, Russell, there's a real opportunity, and look, the electorate may not understand the bigger picture here, but I mean, it must be heartbreaking for you going around. I mean, you know, under this Albanese government, the new form of housing is a sleeping bag under a bridge. You know, apples are $2 each. I mean, things are just mad. Power is going through the roof in terms of cost, and as you say, absolutely ridiculous given the resources we've got in this country that this stuff's happening. It's just woke. It's mad. It's completely derelict of their duty to this country. We could be in a unique situation where someone like you in Monash may well hold the balance of power with someone like a Matt Camanzuli in McMahon if he was able to beat Blackout Bowen. So there is a real opportunity here, and people need to be mindful of that when they're voting, because they know what they're getting with you. They know that they're going to get someone who's going to advocate for them. They know they're going to get a performer. We just don't need change in this electorate for the sake of it, because when it comes time to barter with these grubs, and that's what some of them are, grubs, we need someone who's going to put the people of Monash first and the country first. And you are that person, Russell Broadbent. So I hope the electorate, and I hope these Liberals actually stand up and show some backbone in your electorate and actually put Russell Broadbent first on the paper.
Well, thanks, boys. You're very kind to me. You always have been. But the people will decide. And I'm always one that says, once the people have decided, I accept the decision. I had a bit more trouble with football umpires, but can I say? But I accept the decision of the people of Australia. They will make the decision about who governs this nation and what the balance of power is. I don't believe either side has the numbers to get a majority government at this stage.
It's going to be an interesting election.
Sure is.
Russell,
Sure.
let me ask you, do you feel that you're a better man ethically today than you were 5 years ago?
No, I don't think I've changed.
Okay.
No, I haven't changed. I too often I've seen what is right and done the right thing, not the political thing, and suffered the consequence of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I look back and every choice that I made, I would make the same choice again in politics,
Mm-hmm.
even if it meant I was never to be promoted. The causes that I went for were disabled people at one stage, farmers on another occasion, the narrative around our response to COVID recently, all of these things, I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change that.
Mm-hmm.
And I put my whole seat on the line, and I didn't realise the Liberal Party were opposing me at the last election as well. So, and we still won. We still won. So we'll just take this next 10 days as it comes. We'll move forward every day with opportunity and give the people a chance to have a real say.
Well, that's all we ask for in a democratic country. Final
Yep.
question from you, Johnny.
Russell, I don't think people fully understand how a sitting politician's office works, but I mean, to be able to function and do the job you do on a daily basis, you need to have a good team and good staff. And the fact that we can ring Tanya Danock or Julie Sladden at 11 o'clock at night and have them pick up the phone is testimony to the calibre of people that you have working for you. I mean, these Labor Party and Liberal Party politicians get these people straight out of university. They've never struck a blow, never had a job. You've got real people with real experience, with real compassion in your office that are just bloody beauties.
Well, thank you for the compliment. People, I often get compliments about how well they were looked after by my staff, and I appreciate every one of them for the work that they do. Working for a federal politician is a 24-hour job, 7 days a week. And I warn people about that when they come to work for me. But I also say to them, but you're going to have some fun.
Well, we've had some fun with all of you on the odd occasion. We've been at different speaking engagements together, and you've always welcomed us at Parliament House when John and I have been there doing various things to try and wake up some politicians, and we've always appreciated that. The truth is, Russell, if this is a split parliament and people like yourselves have the opportunity to hold the balance of power and keep the mongrels honest, we need somebody with statesman-like qualities to hold it all together. We need somebody that those who are new to the parliament can go to and say, hey, how do we deal with this? And I think it would be magnificent if you were back there. I hope the people of Monash see you in that light. I know many in the rest of Australia do. And we're unashamedly supporting Russell Broadbent in Monash. Unashamedly. We don't sort of do that openly, John. We tend to spread ourselves out everywhere else, but where Monash is concerned, you have our vote. And Johnny's even been thinking about moving the family to Warrigal so that he can vote for you. But, we can't make it any plainer than that. You're a gentleman. You've always been generous in your support and your availability. And we can't thank you enough, Russell.
Thanks for having me.
And let's close it with a prayer, Johnny. Lord Father in heaven, we just pray for common sense and compassion to prevail. Lord, one thing that's noticeable throughout this entire interview is that there were opportunities to really bag people out, and that hasn't happened, not from our candidate that we're interviewing, because that's the mark of who he is as a man. Lord, we pray that we can all stand up to that yardstick, that we all measure up in that way, that we learn to love our enemies. And sometimes we need to learn to love those that it's hard to like, because what they need is our love. So, Lord, we just pray that this country returns to compassion, to common sense, and to courage. And we thank you for Russell Broadbent and those people who work with him in his crew. We thank you for them, and we pray that they're successful in this election. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Johnny, you've often been heard to say,
You just couldn't make this stuff up.
no, we could have a field day making stuff up, but we don't have to. It's all there.
It's there for us.
It's all there.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for a job and you're on the Gold Coast, go to your local Teals candidate, because they're paying you $30 an hour to hand out out-of-vote cards.
And then throw them in the bin.
And then throw them in the bin.
Take their 30 and throw them in the bin.
Don't forget Australia. This is a great country because you live in it. Whether you like us or not, it doesn't matter. What you did yesterday got you to today. And for goodness sake, start loving on people and start loving on your country. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time on Club Grubbery. Thank you, Russell.